Right now, without thinking about it, you just took a breath. You didn't choose it. You didn't plan it. It just happened, the way it always does, quietly in the background of everything else you're doing. But here is the strange part. The thing your body has been doing every few seconds since the moment you were born, the one thing you literally cannot survive without, you have almost certainly been doing it wrong your entire life. Not slightly wrong, profoundly wrong, in ways that are making you more anxious, more tired, more sick, and more prone to panic than you need to be. And the worst part, the science has known this for decades. You just were never told. How does that happen? How does a species that has been breathing for 200,000 years end up so bad at it? The answer goes deeper than lungs. It goes all the way back to your face. Around 10,000 years ago, something shifted. Your ancestors stopped chasing food across open grasslands and started growing it. Agriculture changed everything. The tools you used, the communities you formed, the food you ate. Cooked, soft, processed grains replaced the tough, chewy, fibrous diet your skull had been designed around for millions of years before that. And your jaw never recovered. Anthropologist Daniel Lieberman at Harvard has spent years studying how the modern human skull differs from skulls just a few thousand years old. What he found should make you pause. The jaw narrowed, the palate became higher and more arched, the nasal passages tightened. Your face, compared to your ancient ancestors, is essentially squished, smaller at the front, more crowded at the back, and crowded faces mean crowded airways. That narrowing changed how air moves through your body. It made breathing through the nose harder, so millions of people quietly defaulted to breathing through their mouths instead. Not because evolution intended it, because the architecture changed and the habit followed. James Nestor, a science journalist who spent years researching the history of breath, describes how researchers opened thousand-year-old skulls and almost never found signs of crooked teeth or narrowed sinuses. Those were modern problems. They arrived with modern food. Your body adapted to the world it was given, but the trade-off was your airway. So what does that actually mean for you, right now, today? It means there is a strong chance you are a mouth breather, not as an insult, as a mechanical fact. And mouth breathing is, in the language of respiratory physiology, almost entirely counterproductive. Here is why. Your nose is not just a hole in your face. It is a sophisticated air processing system. The nasal passages warm incoming air to match body temperature. They humidify it so your lungs can absorb it efficiently. They filter out particles, bacteria, allergens, things that would otherwise land directly in your airway. And most critically, your nasal passages produce nitric oxide, a molecule that dilates blood vessels, increases oxygen uptake in the lungs, and regulates blood pressure. When you breathe through your mouth, you bypass all of that. You pull in cold, dry, unfiltered air. You produce no nitric oxide. Your oxygen absorption drops. Your heart has to work harder. And your body registers this quietly as a low-grade stressor. Because to your nervous system, labored breathing and mouth breathing look a lot like danger. That chronic low-grade stress signal has a name. Researchers call it sympathetic activation, your nervous system's emergency mode, the mode designed for running from predators, not for sitting at a desk answering emails. Physiologist Konstantin Buteyko noticed this in the 1950s while working with patients suffering from asthma, hypertension, and anxiety. He observed something that seemed almost too simple. His patients all shared a common pattern. They breathed too much. Too fast, too shallow, too often through the mouth. And when he taught them to breathe less, through the nose, slowly and gently, their symptoms improved, sometimes dramatically. The medical establishment resisted his ideas for decades. They seemed too basic. Breathing is automatic. How could changing it fix anything serious? But the data kept building. Study after study confirmed what Buteyko had seen. Slow nasal breathing reduces cortisol. It activates the vagus nerve, the long, wandering nerve that governs your rest and digest system, the counterpart to your fight or flight circuitry. It lowers heart rate, reduces blood pressure, and shifts your nervous system into a calmer state within minutes. Not hours, minutes. Think about what that means. The fastest, most accessible lever for your mental state is not a supplement or a meditation app or a prescription. It is the way air enters your body right now. And the rabbit hole goes even deeper than that. Your breathing rate matters too, not just the route. The average adult today breathes between 12 and 20 times per minute. Research from the University of Pavia in Italy, led by cardiologist Luciano Bernardi, found that something unusual happens when breathing slows to around 5 to 6 breaths per minute. The heart and lungs enter a state of resonance. they synchronize. Heart rate variability, the subtle variation in time between heartbeats, which is a powerful marker of nervous system health, increases significantly. People feel calmer, clearer, and more focused.
6 breaths per minute. That is 1 breath every 10 seconds. Almost certainly slower than what you are doing right now. Bernardi published this in the British Medical Journal in 2001. He was not studying meditation. He was studying Italian rosary prayer and yoga mantras. And he noticed that both traditions, independently across centuries of practice, had converged on the same breathing rate, 5 to 6 breaths per minute, the physiological sweet spot that no one had named yet because no one had thought to look. Ancient practitioners had found it through experience. Modern science confirmed it with sensors. Now consider your sleep. If you sleep with your mouth open, and many people do often without realizing it, your breathing becomes even more chaotic. Mouth breathing during sleep is directly linked to snoring. Snoring is directly linked to sleep apnea, a condition where the airway partially collapses and the brain is forced to wake itself repeatedly through the night to restart breathing. Most people with mild sleep apnea never know they have it. They just wake up exhausted. They assume they slept poorly, they drink more coffee. Otolaryngologist Nayak Jayakar and his colleagues have documented how something as low-tech as taping the lips shut during sleep, forcing nasal breathing, reduces snoring significantly in patients without structural airway problems. Not a device, not surgery, tape. The results are almost offensive in their simplicity. So why isn't any of this common knowledge? Why did no one teach you how to breathe in school, the way they taught you to brush your teeth or eat vegetables? Part of the answer is that breathing feels too automatic to question. It happens whether you think about it or not. That invisibility protects it from scrutiny. Another part is that there is no clear commercial incentive for teaching people to breathe properly. You cannot patent a nasal breath. You cannot sell a slow exhale. But the evidence sits there, patient and accumulating. Breathe through your nose. Breathe slowly. Let the exhale last slightly longer than the inhale. This alone tilts the nervous system toward calm because the exhale is when the vagus nerve activates and the heart rate drops. Do this for a few minutes and your body changes measurably. Do it consistently and the changes compound. Your ancestors on those open grasslands, breathing through their noses across long distances, running and resting and running again, they were not doing anything special. They were just using the system the way it was built. You inherited that system. It is still in there under all the noise and habit and crowded modern architecture of your face. You never had to learn to breathe, but it turns out you may have needed to relearn it. And now the next time you catch yourself breathing through your mouth, sitting at a desk, reading something, lying awake at 3 in the morning, you will notice it differently. Because you just took a breath, but this time for the first time you were actually paying attention to how.
Take a deep breath